Hey everybody, what's going on? Good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well on this Saturday still. And Mike Macdonald has spoken about a couple of interesting topics, and I thought it opened up the door for a little bit of a discussion here on the channel. So we're going to talk a little bit about Jadarian Price here, because Mike Macdonald came out, I believe this was, yesterday, and said some interesting things about the planned usage for Jadarian Price. And this is going to be a topic of some, how should I put this, of some debate, I think. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it here. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. And what I've got on screen here is an article from Pro Football Talk. And the subject is the usage of Jadarian Price for the 2026 season. And it's really the last part of this headline that is of note. So when you get into the article a little bit, here, some of the stuff that Macdonald says via Seahawks.com, by the way, that's where the original set of quotes comes from, is we're going to run wide zone and he's going to run wide zone, which, I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? That's one of the big reasons why you drafted him. You think he can run zone. We're going to run some gap scheme. He's going to run some of that too. Obviously, you're not going to only run zone in an NFL offense, and you can't have a situation where you have one running back doing all the zone and another running back doing all the gap. So that's obvious. And then the pass game, he can come alive too. I think that's part of our offense in general, that we can take another step, including our halfbacks in the pass game. And that's something that we've talked about a lot this offseason. Can Jadarian Price improve as a receiving back? Because that was something he didn't do at all in college. We'll just have to see about that. But I think it's, let me zoom in a little bit here, by the way. That's something that you obviously want a player to do when you spend a first round pick on him. You don't want him to be a 0 on third down, the most important down in football. So that stuff is all relatively obvious, and I don't feel like we need to go into intense detail about it. I feel like that when you spend a first round pick on a running back, the plan is to use him in all the typical ways you use a running back. But it's the last thing that he said that has turned some heads and gotten some attention. I've seen some people already talking about this. He's a great special teams player as well. The kick return stuff, we'll see how it shakes out in other phases, but he's going to come in and compete with the rest of the guys. So that's not necessarily something people expected Macdonald to talk about when it comes to Price. Now, it is worth noting that he is correct that Jadarian Price was a great special teamer in college. At Notre Dame, he was their kick returner, and in his career, which, by the way, there were a couple of years where he didn't really do much of any returning, so we're only really talking about a small sample here. He returned 22 kickoffs for 794 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's a 36.1 yard per return average, which would be among the best in the NFL. Obviously, that's college, but the point is, he's a good kick returner. He could be a great kick returner. And while theoretically the Seahawks are pretty well set up when it comes to kick returners, this fact has made some people wonder, including apparently Mike Macdonald, will Jadarian Price end up being the kick returner for the Seahawks in some capacity this season? If you like sports, then the best way to make them even better and more exciting is using the Prize Picks app, where it always feels good to be right. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players and build lineups with a few taps. Whatever sport you're into, and obviously we are now firmly into the NFL offseason, so we're all about baseball. We got some basketball, we got some hockey, whatever it is you like. Prize Picks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you're watching. Definitely make sure to use the promo code HMA. Prize Picks is hooking up users with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. If you use that promo code, that is HMA. I've had a great time on Prize Picks so far, so definitely get on over to it, check it out, and make sure to get your lineups. And don't forget about Team Picks, where you can pick winners, spreads, and totals on any major game. So download the app now, use HMA, and get on over to Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And remember, always gamble responsibly. So, knowing that Jadarian Price was a great kick returner at Notre Dame, and knowing that the Seahawks really do care about their special teams unit, they really want to have the best special teams in football, and they think that that is an advantage that they can lean on in the postseason and in close games. Does Jadarian Price get involved in this capacity for the Seahawks this year, knowing that he is also probably going to be the lead running back? I imagine that he's going to lead the team in carries, and that on some level you are playing with fire when you have a crucial part of your team, offense or defense, returning special teams kicks. So let's think about this for a second. The thing to keep in mind, these days, NFL teams have two kick returners because of the way in which kick returns have changed. So that's important. If you only had one kick returner, there might not be much of a discussion. You've got Rashid Shaheed, who had multiple kick returns for touchdowns as a Seahawk last year. He's been an all-pro kick returner before. He is maybe the best kick returner in football right now. That's probably the guy that you want to have returning most of your kicks. But with the way kick returns are now, you kind of need to have two guys back there, one on one side, one on the other side. And that being the case, who should the second guy be? I think that's ultimately what this conversation comes back to. And in the event that Shaheed can't, or for whatever reason we don't want to let him return kicks, who is your backup? Is it Jadarian Price? Now keep in mind that Rashid Shaheed probably going to be our number 2 receiver this year. You could argue we're already playing with fire by having a player of that level of importance returning kicks. So if you start talking about putting your lead running back as a kick returner, you're really amping up the risk. Now, granted, football is always a risk, right? You can always get hurt playing football. It's a violent sport. I understand that. And I think that every NFL player understands that there's nothing they can do to remove the risk entirely of injury. You can do things to mitigate it. But at the end of the day, there is some sense that, just the act of playing football, regardless of whether or not you're doing one particular thing over another particular thing, you can still certainly get injured. So you don't want to get too lost in the mindset of we're going to do everything we can to protect these players by taking them away from what they do well. But is it a good idea to have Jadarian Price returning kicks? And normally I wouldn't think too much of something like this, but the fact that Mike Macdonald said it got me thinking a little bit. Granted, Mike Macdonald is not necessarily somebody who is going to, tell us everything that he's going to do. He's going to throw something like this out there, and maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But I don't necessarily believe this is an indication that he believes that this will happen, just that it's under consideration. And should it be? Knowing that this team does have a couple other guys that can return kicks, guys like Manuel Henderson Jr., if he makes the team. He's a kick returner from college a little bit. He can do it. You've got a guy like a Torrey Horton, who was a good punt returner last year before he got hurt. If you get Torrey Horton as a kick returner and he's able to provide positive play, and remember, Shaheed's probably going to take most of the kicks anyway, then there's not really room for Jadarian Price in there. But do you mix it up here? Is it possible that you even have a rotation at kick returner? Do you move guys in and out knowing that the 3 guys offer different skill sets and can do different things? And that can be a confusing element that opposing special teams units have to deal with, that they may not be able to deal with. That they may give up a play they would not have otherwise given up because there's a certain level of uncertainty when it comes to who is the kick returner from kick to kick. So this is definitely interesting, and I would say I'd probably steer away from it. I would definitely want to try to keep Jadarian Price to the offense. I think that even if you're not talking about injury stuff, I think that you are kind of starting yourself behind the 8 ball as an offense when a key player for your offense is on special teams the play prior to you getting the ball and is already a little bit winded because they just had to participate in a special teams play. I'd prefer to avoid that if possible. I'd prefer to take a look at somebody like a number 4 receiver or a cornerback even as a return guy to avoid that. Now, Shaheed is too good at it, I think, to take it away from him. And he's also not a full-time wide receiver. He'll probably play like 60 to 65% of the snaps anyway, so it's not as big of a deal. And running backs take a lot more abuse physically, and it's a lot more physically taxing than what you see with a receiver. But when it comes to Jadarian Price, we're already just kind of crossing our fingers with the running back spot this year. I don't want to try to make that any harder, but what do you guys think? It is something he's very good at. He was great at kick returning in college. Phenomenal. And you might not want to take that away from him. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Gonna be, I think, one more video later tonight. And yeah, see you guys then. Let me know what you think about Jadarian Price maybe doing some kick return stuff this year.